So a few weeks ago, my wife and I went to a track. We had plans on testing our 60, a 100, and a 200, but unfortunately my wife ended up pulling her hammy. And this has happened to me before, as I'm sure many of you guys have had a hamstring strain in the past. And if you want to reduce the likelihood of injuring your hamstrings, there are a couple things you should frequently and consistently be doing in your training. First thing, you should participate in at least some max effort sprinting. Don't let your sport play be the only sprinting stimulus that you get, because odds are is that you're probably not actually getting much sprinting at all in your sport. Which means if you want to let your sport take care of the sprinting, you're probably actually not that prepared for it when you have to do it in your sport. And the second thing, make sure you're doing a lot of hip hinging in your training, RDL variation. You want your hamstrings to be strong in a lengthened position. Hinges can be done on one leg or two legs. They can be done heavy. They can be done for reps at both fast and slow tempos. Kettlebell swings can be a great exercise when done heavy enough and with enough reps. And third thing would be to include tempo runs. Tempo runs are just sprinting mechanics at slower speeds with a technical focus and higher number of total strides and foot contacts. So you train the high end with sprinting and the low end with tempo runs. Another thing that's probably a good idea is to reduce hamstrings muscle tone. Muscle tone refers to the amount of tension a muscle has at rest. And there's no way of knowing what optimal muscle tone is, but some passive stretching of the hamstrings can reduce the muscle tone. And lastly, you'll want long fascicle length of the hamstrings. Longer fascicle length will potentially lead to greater strength at a lengthened position. Nordic hamstring curls and glute ham raises are great exercises at achieving this. But if you do end up pulling or straining your hamstrings, I would recommend sled pushes after a couple of days of letting the healing process take place. Sled pushes can be a really effective rehab activity because it's essentially just low velocity running mechanics and the resistance is concentric only, which makes it trainable at a high frequency. And you can also include hamstrings isometrics both at lengthened and shortened positions. The shortened positioned isos are probably going to be more tolerable at first, but you can progress from there as necessary. And then obviously gradually incorporate the things that I touched on at the beginning of the video: sprint, hip hinge, tempo runs, and some stretching. So hopefully that information helps some of you guys out there.